In about 25 minutes, the Deficit Commission is beginning that key meeting, releasing formally the report the nation's been waiting for, austerity in America. They're going to take some questions, but not vote yet. Eamon Javers is live on Capitol Hill with the key headlines you need to know right now on a very big day, Eamon, for the country.
Yeah, that's right, Aaron. Well, here in the hearing room, we don't have any commission members yet, but the room is starting to fill up. We don't know the details of this report, which will be released at 9:30, but I can tell you some of what we have discovered so far. Take a look at some of the key headline numbers that we're seeing inside this report as of right now. They're going to call for Social Security retirement age to rise to 69 by the year 2075 with smaller cost of living adjustments. They're also going to propose a 15% per gallon gas tax, and they're going to suggest, we are told, more than $200 billion in discretionary cuts above what was in the previous chairman's proposal. And when we have this report in hand and can bring it to you at 9:30, we'll bring you all of the headline-making details at that hour. Aaron?
All right. Well, thank you very much. We're going to get much more on this and obviously really awaiting that moment. I think it is safe to say it is a big moment. Vote or no vote, the country finally standing up and saying we have a deficit crisis and have to do something about it. Representative Janet Schakowsky is a Democrat from Illinois. She's on the National Commission on Fiscal Responsibility and Reform Group, and she is with us live ahead of the meeting. Congresswoman Schakowsky, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you.
Let me just start with this. Is this that moment where we are going to see Democrats and Republicans saying we have a crisis, and no matter whether we're going to fight or not, we are going to come out with some serious cuts to the deficit?
I don't think there'll be 14 votes for a proposal, but I think that there is consensus that the deficit and the debt are real problems. There are such significant differences in how we approach it. For example, I feel very strongly that taking it out on the backs of the senior citizens and Medicare and Social Security is not the way to go. Clearly, we have to make sure that we control health care costs, but not among people whose average income is about $18,000 a year. That's
let me just follow up with you on that in particular, on both of those issues, because obviously I know for those of you who don't understand the math here, 18 people on the commission, 14 votes needed for this to go to the floor of
Correct.
Congress. Obviously, Congresswoman Schakowsky is one of those votes that would be needed, and as we know, ma'am, you will not be voting aye on this one. Social Security and Medicare, though, they're capping malpractice for Medicare and for Social Security, raising the age from the current plan 67 to 68, not until 2050, 69 by 2075. Those things don't sound that draconian. Are you not able to support them?
The chief actuary for Social Security has said that for people earning about $43,000 through their lifetime, depending on when they retire, under the plans of the Bowles-Simpson proposal, could lose up to 20% of what they would get under the current Social Security model. The changes in the cost of living adjustment are also pretty severe for people who are retiring, because many of their costs are health care costs, which are going up more than for the rest of the population. And so I think that, and Medicare, where they're talking about increasing cost sharing for the elderly, who already pay about 30% out of pocket for their health care costs, is an unfair way to go. We talk about shared sacrifice, but actually middle and low income people have been sacrificing, while the wealthiest Americans have seen almost all the growth in the economy go to them.
I know Mark no doubt has a question. I want to ask you this, though. You say you've reached consensus that we have a problem, but we can be, as a country, standing in front of an oncoming train and know it's going to hit us and be screaming about how to jump off the track, and then it hits us and we're all dead. So just because you agree that there's a problem doesn't mean you're going to solve it. And it's troubling for a lot of people who hear there's a commission of 18 people who've had a year and can't come up with cuts for the deficit in this country. A lot of people want to throw their arms up in the air. What do you say to them?
Well, that there is a good deal of agreement. We didn't necessarily believe that the defense budget was going to be on the table, but everybody agrees that it is. That tax expenditures, those credits and deductions that mostly affect wealthier people, that those are on the table. Simpson-Bowles gets rid of all of them. I think that's going a bit too far. But so there is a good deal of agreement. None of this is going to end up in a legislative proposal proposal, but I think that it does begin the discussion heading in the right direction. So I do think that the Commission, regardless, has been very constructive.
You have your own, you've put forth your own plan, and I'd like to get into some of the specifics if I could. You want to provide $200 billion to invest over the next 2 years in measures to create jobs and spur economic growth. Now, I would bet a year's salary that most economists would tell you that given the depth of the recession, $200 billion over 2 years isn't going to do anything. Why not more?
No, I actually would agree with that. What I did was achieve primary budget balance, which was our mandate, by 2015, with about $200 billion extra that I said should go into creating more jobs, into investments. But I know that there are other proposals, and I would actually support that talk about a payroll tax holiday that would generate more money. So the important point is that early on, we need to have investment. That's why I'm so concerned about the unemployment insurance, and hoping in the next few days that we'll extend that, not only for the 200 million people, but for the economy itself, because it helps grow it.
Okay, I'm sorry to rush you, but we have limited time, and I want to touch another topic. Under health care, you think at least $31 billion in savings by implementing measures to bring down the cost of health care to the federal government. Any specifics on how you would do that?
Absolutely. Have the federal government, Medicare, negotiate with the pharmaceuticals for lower drug prices for Medicare beneficiaries. We know that the Veterans Administration does that, and they have fractional costs for prescription drugs than we do under Medicare. So that's one big way. Also, I put a public option back on the table.
It was part of the Bush prescription benefit package that the government couldn't negotiate. So you're going to have to change that legislation. $7.7 billion by cutting agriculture subsidies in half and redirecting benefits to small family farms, etc. I assume here you are targeting the big agribusinesses that get subsidies even if most of us would believe they don't need them.
That's exactly right. And of course, Simpson-Bowles also cuts the ag subsidies. We're going to, I think, have agreement on that front.
$132 billion by closing tax subsidies for companies that ship American jobs overseas. This is, we're almost out of time. This is targeted, and frankly, what baffles me in you and your colleagues is how often you don't target things. For example, you talk about a payroll tax holiday. It'll stimulate hiring. Why not specifically say, if you hire, you get a payroll tax holiday. If you don't hire, you don't. Why not target it?
Well, I don't disagree with that. I think that we can fine-tune those proposals to make sure that they are finally targeted. Look, any of the things that we're proposing today would have to be put into legislative language anyway, and I think that those are good suggestions.
All right, ma'am. Thank you very much.